In the blood-soaked arenas of ancient Rome, gladiators were hailed as heroes, but behind the iron gates, their captive women endured horrors that eclipsed the sting of death, forced into shadows where screams echoed unheard. These women faced violations that stripped their souls bare. What secrets did the Colosseum hide? The truth is worse than the grave. Welcome to Grimoryx, where the echoes of Rome's darkest cruelties still linger in the stone. The gladiatorial games began as funerary rites in ancient Rome, evolving into spectacles of blood and power. Captives from conquered lands, including women, were dragged into this brutal world. Gladiators, often prisoners themselves, wielded authority over these unfortunates. Historical texts whisper of unspeakable acts, violations hidden from the roaring crowds. What drove these warriors to such darkness? The arena's glory masked a deeper despair, where captive women's fates twisted into nightmares far beyond mere death. Gladiators, forged in the fires of conquest, were slaves to the lanista, their trainers, who controlled every aspect of life. Captive women from Gaul, Britannia, and beyond arrived in chains. Their bodies commodities in this empire of excess. Accounts from Juvenal and Suetonius hint at gladiators' privileges, including access to these women as rewards for victory. Such encounters were not consensual. They were acts of dominance, leaving scars that time could not heal. Was this the price of survival? Female gladiators, known as gladiatrix, emerged in the late Republic, often captives trained to fight for amusement. These women, stripped of dignity, faced not only the blade, but the gaze of lustful crowds. Archaeological finds like the Halicarnassus relief depict their battles, but behind the scenes, male gladiators exploited them further. Rape was rampant in the ludi, a tool of control. Their bodies bore the empire's cruelty, turning survival into a curse worse than the arena's fatal blow. Emperor Nero's reign amplified the horrors, staging games where captive women were forced into mock myths, tied to beasts for public violation, a spectacle blending death and degradation. Gladiators, as executioners, sometimes participated, their roles blurring lines between fighter and tormentor. Ancient writers like Dio Cassius recorded these atrocities, where women's screams fueled the crowd's frenzy. This was not mere entertainment, it was a systematic erasure of humanity, leaving survivors haunted by memories that death might have mercifully ended. In the barracks beneath the Colosseum, gladiators lived like caged beasts, their victories earning fleeting privileges. Captive women, deemed spoils of war, were often granted as rewards. A euphemism for forced submission, Petronius Satyricon, alludes to these encounters, where power imbalances turned intimacy into assault. These women, from noble lineages or humble villages, lost more than freedom. They lost their sense of self. History's silence on their names amplifies the tragedy. Was oblivion their only escape from unending torment? The allure of gladiators extended to Rome's elite women, who rumour has it paid for private audiences. But for captives, choice was illusion. Gladiators, idolised yet enslaved, channeled frustration into dominance over the vulnerable. Inscriptions from Pompeii reveal graffiti of conquests, both in arena and bed. These acts, normalised in a society where slaves had no rights, perpetuated a cycle of trauma. Captive women bore children of violence, their lineages erased. How many stories vanished in the empire's relentless march? Septimius Severus banned female gladiators in 200 AD, citing lewdness, but the damage was done. Before the edict, captive women fought beasts or men, their bodies exposed for titillation. Gladiators, as victors, claimed them in private, perpetuating sexual violence as a norm. Legal texts like the Lex Julia ignored slaves' plight, offering no protection. These women, survivors of war, faced repeated assaults, their spirits broken in ways the sword could not. What legacy did this leave in Rome's annals? Archaeological digs in Ephesus uncover bones of gladiators and women, fractures telling tales of abuse. Captives from Dacia or Judea arrived broken, only to face further degradation. Gladiators, scarred by battles, inflicted similar pain, viewing women as outlets for rage. Tacitus's annals describe the moral decay, where such acts were overlooked. These women whispered prayers in foreign tongues, their suffering a footnote in Rome's glory. Yet in their endurance, a quiet rebellion simmered, defiance against an empire's cruelty. The rape of the Sabine women set a precedent for Rome's treatment of captives, where abduction and assault were foundational myths. Gladiators, as extensions of military might, embodied this legacy in the arena's underbelly. Women from defeated tribes were paraded, then distributed among victors. Martial's epigrams mockingly described their plight, blending humour with horror. This systemic violence eroded souls, leaving women to navigate a world where resistance meant death and submission meant living death. Echoes of their pain persist. Gladiators' fame masked their own suffering, but it didn't excuse the cycle they perpetuated. Captive women, often young and from distant lands, were subjected to repeated assaults, their bodies marked by the empire's conquests. Pliny the Elder noted the moral contradictions, where heroes became villains in private. Pregnancy from these unions led to further exploitation, children sold or trained as future fighters. This grim inheritance turned families into fragments, a legacy of pain that history struggles to confront. In the Flavian amphitheatre, executions blended with games, where captive women were condemned to horrific fates, sometimes at gladiators' hands. Dressed as mythological figures, they endured public humiliations before private torments. Seneca decried the crowd's bloodlust, but ignored the gendered violence. These women, survivors of sieges, faced a second conquest in Rome's heart. Their resilience, though unspoken, challenges the narrative of Roman grandeur. What if their voices could pierce the centuries, revealing the true cost of empire? Gladiators' schools, or ludi, were prisons of discipline, where captive women served as cooks, cleaners, and worse. Forced labour masked deeper exploitations, with gladiators exerting control in the absence of oversight. Cicero's letters hint at the scandals, where honour was a facade. These women, robbed of autonomy, dreamed of lost homes while enduring nightly terrors. The empire's expansion fed this machine, turning human lives into fuel for spectacle. In the end, their suffering questions the glory we romanticize. Famous gladiators like Spiculus or Flamma had adoring fans, but their private lives harboured darkness. Captive women assigned to them suffered in silence, their stories buried under legends of valour. Ovid's Ars Amatoria satirises the era's hypocrisies, where love was conquest. These women, often branded as property, faced physical and psychological scars. The arena's roar drowned their cries, but in quiet moments their pain resonated. This hidden chapter reveals Rome not as eternal, but eternally flawed. The Vestal virgins enjoyed privileges, but captive women had none, their virginity stolen as acts of war. Gladiators, fresh from victory, partook in this spoils system. Their actions, sanctioned by custom. Livy's History of Rome recounts similar abductions, framing them as necessary evils. These women, once daughters and wives, became shadows in the empire's machine. Their trauma, passed through generations, underscores a society built on subjugation. In uncovering this, we confront the darkness beneath Rome's marble facade. Roman law distinguished rape against free women as crime, but slaves, captives, inherited no such shield. Gladiators exploited this loophole, their assaults unchecked in the ludi's confines. Augustus's reforms aimed at morality, yet failed the vulnerable. Historians like Appian document the influx of captives, their fate sealed upon arrival. These women, resilient amid horror, sometimes formed bonds for survival, but betrayal lurked. This uneven justice exposes Rome's hypocrisy, where power dictated worth and silence buried the innocent. From the Dacian Wars, thousands of women were captured, many ending in gladiatorial schools. Gladiators, victors of those campaigns, claimed them as personal slaves, inflicting terrors in isolation. Trajan's column depicts triumphs, but omits the aftermath's anguish. These women, stripped of culture, adapted or perished. Some historians argue resistance sparked revolts, like Spartacus, where women played roles. Yet their contributions fade, leaving a void in the narrative, a testament to erased voices in history's grand tale. Gladiators' diets and training built strength, but for captive women, scarcity bred weakness. Forced into servitude, they endured assaults as routine as drills. Galen, the physician, treated gladiators' wounds, but women's traumas went unrecorded. This disparity highlights Rome's gendered cruelty. Some women, in desperation, sought poison or escape, their acts labelled madness. Yet in these choices, a spark of agency emerged, defying the system that sought to break them. History owes them recognition beyond the shadows. The Colosseum's inauguration saw thousands perish, including women in staged rapes from myths like Pasiphae. Gladiators enforced these spectacles, their blades ensuring compliance. Vespasian's era glorified such events. But at what cost? Women's bodies became canvases for imperial propaganda, their violation a display of power. Survivors carried invisible wounds, their lives a perpetual aftermath. This blend of entertainment and terror questioned Rome's civilization. Was it built on innovation or on the broken spirits of the conquered? Elite Roman women sometimes pursued gladiators, but for captives, pursuit was predation. Gladiators commodified themselves, turned aggressors in a twisted hierarchy. Commodus, the emperor gladiator, exemplified this, his court rife with scandals. Women's accounts, if any, were destroyed, leaving only male perspectives. This bias skews history, minimizing the scale of suffering. Captive women, in their anonymity, represent countless untold stories, each a thread in the fabric of Rome's dark underbelly. Their legacy demands we listen closer. As Rome declined, gladiatorial games waned, but the scars on captive women endured. Gladiators, freed or fallen, carried habits of violence into society. Constantine's Christian turn condemned the games, yet overlooked prior atrocities. Women's roles in this transition remain obscure, their suffering a bridge to new eras. This evolution prompts reflection. Did change come too late for the nameless victims? Their stories, pieced from fragments, remind us that empires fall, but human pain lingers in the ruins. Modern archaeology revives these tales, with DNA from graves linking captives to distant origins. Gladiators' barracks yield artifacts of daily horror. Broken combs, faded cloths. Scholars debate the extent, but evidence mounts. Women's resilience shines through in hidden tattoos or charms for protection. This investigative lens peels back layers, revealing not just facts, but the human cost. As we unearth the past, we honour those who endured, their silent testimony a call to remember the forgotten. Comparisons to modern exploitation highlight timeless patterns, power abusing vulnerability. In Rome, gladiators embodied this, their fame a veil over atrocities against captives. Feminist historians reframe these narratives, centering women's experiences. Artifacts like the London Gladiatrix grave stir debate on agency. This re-evaluation challenges romanticised views, urging a sombre gaze at history. The captive women's fate, worse than death, serves as a caution. Unexamined pasts repeat, their ghosts whispering warnings to those who dare listen. Reconstructing these events through texts and ruins, we see gladiators not as heroes, but complex figures in a brutal system. Captive women, pawns in this, suffered the worst. violations that shattered minds and bodies. Interdisciplinary studies blend archaeology with psychology to understand trauma's depth. This approach humanizes the past, stripping away glorification. As we delve deeper, the line between victor and victim blurs, revealing shared humanity in suffering. What lessons does this hold for our world today? In closing this chapter, the horrors inflicted by gladiators on captive women echo as a somber reminder of unchecked power. From arena sands to hidden cells, their suffering redefined torment. As we reflect, may their untold resilience inspire empathy in our age. History, though grim, teaches if we heed its whispers. The Colosseum stands silent now, but the voices of the oppressed linger, urging us to build a world where such darkness never returns. The sands have settled, but the shadows of those captive women stretch long across time. Their fate, woven into Rome's crumbling stones, whispers of cruelties that outlast empires. In the flickering candlelight of history, some truths refuse to fade, leaving us to ponder the darkness within glory. If these shadows stirred your soul, like, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to unearth more forgotten horrors. Until the next candle ignites the past, I'll be here, waiting in the gloom.